excited that we were able to go on the road and get a win at Shorter. Thought we handled the road trip very well. Very hot day, probably the second hottest game since I've been here. And I thought we handled it really well. Just a pretty rough day. I was very proud of how we played, especially in the second half, although the game got cut a little short. I know Cody mentioned that we're ranked, moved up in the polls. I guess that's good. I don't understand the polls right now. You're sitting there in the Gulf South, which I think is a very underrated football conference nationally. When you've got West Georgia, you've got Florida Tech, you've got West Alabama doing the things that they're doing, and those teams are not ranked. It's amazing to me. That's why I don't think the polls matter much. We've got a tough challenge ahead of us this week. You can throw records out in a game like this. This is a rivalry game. It's a big game for our fans, our alumni, our university. We understand that, and we're going to have to play extremely well Saturday night in Clinton. It is a road trip for us, as was mentioned before, and it's a night game. We haven't played a night game yet. I think we've played 4 of the hottest games back-to-back, arguably of anybody else in the country. If you put it 4 games in a row in the heat of the day, I think we've handled it pretty well to this point, but how are we going to handle a night game? You know, there's all kinds of things. I know Mississippi College is going to be ready to play. Coach Bland and those guys do a great job down there. You know, I think it was 7-0 last week, them and Florida Tech at half, and if you can play 7-0 in Florida Tech, and they did some good things against West Alabama. Those are 2 premier teams in our league. So they're there. They're right on the cusp. You know, they had a couple mistakes. They're moving the ball. They're playing sound defense. It's going to be a tough challenge. So we've got to keep it like it always is, focus on us. Today, 3:45, we hit the practice field for the first time this week, and it's got to be a good grind day, and got to grind again tomorrow and put in the physical preparation to get ready to play at our best, because we're going to have to play our best come Saturday night.
In these first 4 weeks, talking about the hot, and also you played some tough football games. Physically, how are the guys? You have any injuries, or y'all been pretty fortunate on that?
We do. We've had a couple. Eric Sadler, starting defensive end, who I think was playing very, very well, is out for the rest of the season. He re-injured the same knee that he hurt a year ago. Got some unfortunate news on him yesterday, and he's struggling with it. We're struggling with it, but next man up. But he is out. He will be undergoing surgery again on his left knee. So that was unfortunate. And, of course, Benji Galbraith is still banged up. Don't know where he'll be this week. He didn't play last week. So hoping to get him back as well. But don't know if we'll get him back. But other than that, knock on wood, we're fairly healthy. So Eric's a big blow to us. But that's football. It happens. And it's like I told him, this is, you know, he's been through so much with his life. And he's got a great mama back in Oklahoma City. And he's just, you know, I've seen him grow up so much in the last year. It's just another hurdle he's got to overcome, but I think he's equipped to handle that now. And he's doing great in the classroom. We got to continue to stay on top of that and, you know, just keep praying for him and hoping that he'll get through this as well. We'll be here for him.
Coach, you had a number of guys score on Saturday. Talk just a little bit about your depth and how you'd like to see all of these, you know, guys.
Well, I like to always spread the ball around, and I think we did. Coach Williams and quarterbacks, they did a good job of that on Saturday. It was a good plan, and you know, I think that we are getting a little deeper. You know, we're creating some depth, some guys through competition in practice, and it's tough right now to get on the bus, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, you can only travel 60 conference games on the road, which is, you know, I understand why, but you know, it's a tough rule. But you know, I was pleased. You know, we had a couple freshmen score their first touchdowns, a couple of true freshmen, and Trey Roberson and Gary Fletcher. So I was proud of those guys, and you know, I think we did a really good job of trying to keep fresh guys on the field. And you play those hot games like we're talking about, and the heat's up there, you got to do that. So I thought we did a good job of that on Saturday.
Coach Gary, freshman of the week in the Gulf South. Let's talk about the game that he had, the 3 catches for 100+ and a touchdown. Kind of had that long run
Oh,
what he's meant to your team.
GG Fletcher. Everybody calls him GG, and he's a good player. You know, he's got a lot of speed. He's very, very intelligent. He's got good high football IQ. You know, it's the same stuff we saw in camp. You know, he was, you know, I think a week into camp he was starting for us, running with the ones, and you know that's the thing that I feel like with our offense is we've got guys that start the game, but we have a bunch of starters. You know, we have guys that start in different personnels. Really proud of the way Michael Carr's played the last 2 weeks. I think he's really done some really good things. I think he's had 4 catches the last 2 weeks, but doing a lot of things on the perimeter that go unnoticed except by us. You know, just playing really hard, and you know, you get guys like that bought in and playing unselfish, you can play a lot of guys and you can play at a high level. And Gary is a very smart football player, and he can run and he can catch and do those things, and he's, you know, he's more physical than you'd think. You know, he's going to only get stronger and better in his time here. But I told him when he scored the other day, I said, that's going to be the first of many, I hope. And he said, yes, sir. And I just love the way he carries himself and goes about it. But now what his challenge is going to be is, all right, you had a little success. That's over with now. I mean, now you got to fight to get back on the bus this week. Now you got to keep working. I mean, that's what our guys can't get complacent. And I think that's the hardest thing to do right now in our society is people want to get complacent and they want to, you know, pat themselves on the back. And I don't think Gary's that way, but we're going to see. It's the first time he's been in this situation.
Coach, I asked you about this last night. I want to ask you the same thing again. You say everywhere you go, if you see a Delta State alumnus from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, one of the first things they talk about is how important the MC game is to them. Is that something that you're trying to tell your players about this week?
No doubt about it. I mean, you want to beat your in-state rival. I mean, that's the way it is. And why this game is played in mid-season, I understand. I guess with scheduling, I hope we can get it to where it's back at the end of the year where it's supposed to be. But ought to be a great environment. I know there's a lot of excitement on both sides for them and for us. And I do get that a lot, you know, and that will be addressed with our players today as well. And but at the end of the day, we got to focus on us and taking the next step to get better this week and improve on mistakes that we made last week and mistakes that you know, we made the week before, and just keep continuously taking steps as a team to get better. We're trying to go 1-0 this week, and it just happens to be against a in-state rival game, and it's a big game, but it's a big game because it's the next game, and I'm sure Coach Bland's telling his team the same thing.
What does MC do well, and what are you anticipating?
Well, I think they run the ball really well, which is something that we've done defensively really well. So there's a matchup right there. I think they've got some they play a couple of quarterbacks that are very talented. Both of them can run it. Both of them can throw it. You know, defensively, they mix their coverages up really well. You know, they base out of a 3-3 front, and they've been doing that a while. They got away from it a little bit, went back to it, and I think it's kind of what they do. And they bring pressure, and when they bring pressure, they bring it. You know, they bring 5 or more, and you got to be able to handle that offensively. But you know, they play hard. Their kids keep holding on to the rope, and they you know it's coming. You know, it's kind of like Shoulder last week. They're building something, and it's coming. It's a tough league, and you know, you got to open up on the road at West Alabama, then you got to turn around and play Florida Tech. I mean, that's a tough way to start the conference season. You know, and but you see things, and you see, you know, they're really close. They hit a drive stall out here, drive stall out there. If they finish those drives, that's a different ball game the other night. You know, and I'm sure that's what they're going to try to do is. They do a good job of keeping the ball away from your offense, you know, which is, you know, everybody knows we're tempo. I mean, there's no secret that we like to go fast, and, you know, we don't really care about the number of plays, but we do check it from time to time. You know, I think in 2015 when we went down there, you know, last year was just a daggum track meet shootout up here at Cleveland, and we just happened to outlast them. But in 2015, I think we were down at halftime, but we looked and we had ran 51 offensive plays. I'm sure they're going to try to negate that by keeping their offense on the field, controlling the clock, kind of like they did in 2014. So those are things that they do well. It's going to be a challenge for us. There's no doubt about it.
Talk about the turnovers. You got another interception on Saturdays.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we've done a good job of is, we're +6 right now in turnover ratio in the season, and we hope that number rises this week. If it does, we'll have a chance to win this football game. There's no doubt about it. But they've done a really good job of trying to eventually force a turnover. And, the thing that I like, and we missed some things on Saturday, and that's to Shorter's credit as much as anything. And it's like Coach Partridge said, you're not going to play lights out 11 straight times. There's going to be times when you're not going to play as well. But I thought we didn't panic on Saturday when they hit a couple big plays. We just kept playing. There's a lot of pride in the secondary right now, a lot of pride on just not letting guys complete balls, and if they do complete it, make the tackle or make them pay for catching the ball. And I like our mentality back there, and I think that we've proved so far that we're a pretty physical football team. You got to keep proving it. That's what people don't understand. You don't just say, well, we've done it 4 times, so we've arrived. We haven't arrived. We're not even close. And there's a ton of wood to be chopped. I had a guy call me a while ago talking about the playoffs. You got to be kidding me. I'd be like, Herm Edwards, playoffs? We're just trying to win this week, and we're trying to get better. And I really get worried about talk like that and talk about, hey, what if you do this? What about – we're not worried about that. We're trying to stay right now getting better this week than we were a week ago. And if we can continue to do that, we got a chance. But it's very, very difficult when you got people trying to pat your kids on the back and telling them they've arrived, because we haven't. We're not even close. And we have to understand that, and that's why I'm up here not sleeping at night and stressed out, because you want to keep winning, but at the same time you want to try to enjoy it. And I don't feel like I can ever let my guard down. I'm just being honest with y'all right now. That's kind of how I am. I tell you what I feel. I think we got a chance to be a good football team. We're not there yet. There's a lot of good football teams in this league. We're fixing to play one Saturday night. They just hadn't had any luck yet, and I hope they don't get any Saturday, just to be honest with you. But it's just the way it is.
Coach, statistically, your quarterback, Breck Ruddock, had one of his best games on Saturday.
Yeah.
Three touchdowns and over 270 yards. What are some of the things he did good that made that statistic?
Thought he made good decisions. Thought he made really good decisions. I thought he was seeing the coverage as well. Thought he knew when to go to the screen game, when to run the ball. Everybody's got stuff built into the run game nowadays. It's no secret. And I thought he did a good job of seeing coverages. And when we dropped back and threw the ball, I thought he made good decisions with the football. And I thought he made good decisions in the red zone, except for him dropping a snap that hit him in the face mask, which looked like the circus was in Rome, Georgia for a second. But other than that, I think he's just a pretty good decision maker. And that's what I think people don't understand is, they see him running the ball and they see him doing these things and they see him throw short passes and we're completing them, but he's basically checking to those things. He's seeing those things, and he's seeing them in a short amount of time with how fast we're going. So it's very difficult what he's doing, and he's doing some good things. He seems to be getting better with each rep. And I challenged him because last Tuesday I thought he had one of the worst practices of his life since he's been at Delta State anyway, and I found out he didn't eat, and it was about 98, felt like, on the turf, and he just struggled. And he said son Monroe got him last Tuesday, so I just called him before we came up here and said, eat something today and make sure we have a better Tuesday practice than we did a week ago. But I like him because he's a gym rat. He works at it. Him and Colin Willis both, they watch a lot of film on their own. They've got good questions. They understand what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And they're spreading that knowledge and that stuff down to Tanner, and they're bringing him along, Tanner Gillian, and that's a great thing to see.
Coach, from an offensive and defensive perspective, field position is extremely important. You got Ladarian Peterson, who had 4 returns for 89 yards. He's up over 1,000 now for his career. Talk about what he's done for your team in returning the ball. Seems like every time he gets it, you guys have a great field position.
That's a good stat for him, and it's also a misleading stat because he had a lot of yards last year because we had a lot of kickoff returns last year because people were scoring points on us. He is a good player. We have a simple scheme that Coach Williams installed, and we understand it, and we're good fundamentally. I think that's when you watch us and people, sometimes other coaches will get on us and say, well, they just do this, this, and this. Yeah, we do. We do. We're not going to make any bones about it. But this is what we do, and we know that, but we fundamentally are going to be able to do it against anything you present to us, and that's that's kind of our beliefs. And, you know, some people are scheme people, and there's nothing wrong with that, and some people aren't. We're fundamental people, and that's what we try to do. That's, as coaches, that's what we believe in. So I think our scheme's got a lot to do with it. Our kids believe in it. They believe in Ladarian. They believe that any time he can take one, and he's shown it. And, you know, it's a credit to him, and it's a credit to that whole unit of how they block. You know, everybody takes pride in that unit, and, you know, hopefully I honestly hope he doesn't get it for a while, because that means people aren't scoring on us. But if he gets a chance, maybe he'll bust a long one, and we can get this behind us and move on. But it's a good thing for him, and I'm proud of him.
Coach, you mentioned in your teleconference for the TV game this week, you mentioned a very special player on your team, Sean Sanks.
Yeah.
What does he mean for your team, along with your other guys back there,
Well,
Fernandez and McDuffie?
Well, you know, Sanks has been doing this a while. You know, we signed him as a defensive lineman from Foley, Alabama. And between him and McDuffie alone, both of those guys are math pre-engineering guys, and both of them are sharp as all get out. They just want to play football, and I love them, you know. And I don't talk about those guys enough, because you don't have to worry about them. You know what you're getting from them every day, you know. And Sean Sanks this week will wear number 93. That's historical, because that's the first time an offensive player has gotten to wear that jersey since Adrian Dinkins passed away. And he doesn't even know that yet unless he's watching this. We're going to tell him this afternoon. But I think that's a big deal. And I can't think of a more deserving player. You know, Brian McDuffie is going to be a captain this week, because he's going back to, you know, he played there at Hines, right there outside of Clinton. And Brian McDuffie's a leader, and those two guys have done a great job. Cliff Fernandez is a very unselfish player. I'm not real happy with him right now, and he knows it, because he can play better than he did last week. He didn't have one of his better games. He played great the week before against West Georgia, and then I guess kind of took a week off, but he's not going to be able to do that this week. So we're going to – hopefully those three guys you mentioned are going to have big games for us Saturday night. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.